Hey, thanks for having me. I am going to jump right into this because we don't have too much time. So briefly, what's the problem with attribution? So each of your ad partners is using different attribution models. Last click, first click, view through, different cookie windows. Everybody's got something different, right? None of your ad partners are taking into consideration any of the others. So they're all taking 100% of the credit for your sales, and they are cross-referencing the same customer all the time, basically. So you are certainly, everyone in this room, unless you have some great multi-attribution fix, is double counting conversions across channels and miscalculating your ROI on spend. That is a really intractable problem, but it also creates an opportunity, I think. Your ad campaigns don't work in a vacuum. Assisted conversions are the bulk of your sales. There is an ideal customer journey and attribution model that will allow you to optimize your budget. Finding what that ideal customer journey is and how much you should be investing in each of the channels along that path, that's where you figure out how to scale your marketing channel profitably. As you start to get into this, there are some basic types of attribution that some of you are probably familiar with. Last click attribution, where 100% of the ROI goes to the last click. Linear attribution, where you are taking into consideration the fact that there's multiple touches, but it's flat. You're just saying everybody gets equal credit. Time decay basically gives more credit to recent clicks and less credit to first clicks. All of these, if you're doing anything that is giving you a sense of what is the path to conversion, is better than being blind to this entire problem. But none of these are really accurate. Like, linear is not correct. Time decay is not correct. There is some correct allocation of ROI that should exist in the world. It's certainly not just applying these very basic models to it, right? Like, that's not the source of truth. Okay, so this is a little bit dry, so we're going to meet my dog, Penny. This is Penny at 4 months old. She's a golden retriever puppy, and you're going to see her throughout the talk. We just want to keep you on your toes here, still thinking, about something fun. This is the driest stuff that there is in marketing, probably. So I just want to keep you engaged a little bit. So that's Penny. She's cute. I love her. So you've got two ways that we can do multi-attribution roughly. Okay, so I'm going to give you the first solution. The first solution is multi-attribution software. How many of you are using multi-attribution software today? Some of you. Okay, so I'll cover this quickly. Multi-attribution software tags paid links. It tags your media, and then as those tagged links are clicked or media is served, so an impression is served, a regression model is applied to predict a binary event. A binary event meaning, let's say, a conversion. Okay? Then the multi-attribution software is going to take into account every single customer journey independently, each one as a unique customer journey, and they're going to do a regression analysis, a statistical regression analysis that's going to assign accurate attribution to each ad channel and how it contributes to conversions overall. Okay? If you've dealt with statistics and you're marketers, so I assume that many of you have, you know that you need enough data for statistics to be a source of truth, to be statistically significant, okay? So to make the most of multi-attribution software, you need to be feeding it enough data to sort of make it work, okay? So roughly your annual spend needs to be $5 million. Your marketing spend needs to be $5 million. And more than half of that really should be coming from sources that are not Facebook and Google. For multi-attribution software, the kind that I think actually delivers a source of truth that actually works, for it to be relevant to you, okay? Convertro is an example of this, Odometry, Visual IQ, these are just, if you're looking, these are some of the guys who do this. The reason that Facebook and Google cannot account for more than half is because even the best guys in the field, Convertro, Odometry, who tag not only links, which is all the lower level players do, which I'll get to in a minute, but they tag the impressions as well. They have huge user graphs, basically, that allow them to really tap into not just these are the links that are getting clicked, but these are the impressions that are getting served, and this is really who this person is. They're basically better at tracking that customer as they move throughout the web because they have a massive set of data. Google and Facebook are not part of that. They are not part of that data set. So you are only going to get, even from the best multi-attribution software providers, just the link clicks from your Google and Facebook ads. So if that's where all of your $5 million is, like, I don't know if it's worth your money. That's basically what I'm saying. There are cheaper multi-attribution software providers. Conversion Logic, Abacus, Kissmetrics does some of it. The difference, as I said, is the data sets. They're not part of a larger user graph. They're not ingesting as much data across the web. They're usually, depending on which one of those you're working with, just tracking the links, which is good. So this isn't going to give you perfect attribution, but it is going to give you a pretty good idea based on link clicks what the multi-attribution funnel is. They are going to apply a regression analysis to all of those link clicks, and then they're going to be able to say, you know what, you're under-investing in this channel by 10%, you're over-investing in this channel by 20%, and they're probably within a margin of error that's better than where you were, okay? I think, there's Penny, again, that's Penny at 8 months. I own a couple of apparel brands, and so I get to dress her up and put her in photo shoots like this. The thing about the lower level multi-attribution folks, I'd say if you're spending a couple $1 million, so you're below that 5 million mark, but you're spending a couple $1 million, that's where that might come in, and it would be an ROI positive for you. Generally, I would say that the rule of thumb is 5% of your marketing spend will end up in the hands of a multi-attribution software provider. And so then you sort of need to think about, well, if that were true, first of all, how much meat is on the bone for me to get ROI out of that? Can I turn that 5% into ROI positive? And is that amount of money am I spending enough money to make spending that much money like worth it? Okay, that's your decision. Now, for those of you that are not in a boat where you can just go get one of these guys to solve your problem, I want to give you another set of solutions, okay? So this is more of the homegrown solution if you need to figure something out. You got two options. You've got Google Analytics, and you've got building an internal system. And probably if you're doing an internal system, you're going to use Google Analytics in tandem with that, okay? So let's talk about Google Analytics. In Google Analytics, under multi-channel funnels, Google is going to give you attribution about how your traffic is interacting across channels, okay? So we can look at path length, and that's going to tell us, and this is also a good way just to figure out if you should go buy multi-attribution software. Path length tells me how many visits, basically, does it take until I get a conversion. So this graph is saying that basically 50% of folks are kind of coming in one visit and converting, and then the rest are skewed out, and it's a multi-visit path, okay? There's also assisted conversions. That last column on the right, that's the one that I like. That's an interesting column. That number that they give you, that's either below 1, it's 0.7, or it's above. That is basically telling you if that channel is generally something that is assisting a conversion or is actually the last click before conversion. And so that's giving you, okay, a little bit better idea. This is a traffic channel, and like, is it, where on the spectrum is this traffic channel? And that could be useful enough if you are looking at the ROI, let's say, of PPC campaign on Google, and you're not getting the ROI that you want out of it, but you come over here and you look at that channel and you're saying, it doesn't look like I'm getting the ROI from that, but actually what's happening is that's a great top of funnel channel that is driving people further down, and I'm attributing all of those sales into email, but really I wouldn't have gotten those email sales unless I had that PPC campaign. That's what we're trying to get to here. You can also see under top conversion paths, right below that, you can see what are the 10 different ways that conversions take place with 3 or 4 different paths to conversion. So you've got like a very common path to conversion for you is PPC, Facebook ad, retargeting, email conversion. That's 25% of your conversions. Follow that path. And then you're starting to say, okay, I'm understanding at a basic level, these are the paths to conversion. These are the way that my channels are interacting with each other. Hopefully you've scared yourself a little bit into readjusting your budget so that you're not overspending on any one of those channels, because probably they're all taking share in the same conversions and you're saying, whoa, I can't use the same CPA that I was using before. I need to readjust. Okay, but this is a problem, right? This whole thing is a problem because all of this data is anonymous, right? It doesn't take into account marketing spend. It totally misses LTV of my customers. And what we want to understand is not only what are the multi-paths to conversion, these are the channels and then we have conversions from them, but what kind of lifetime value do those paths yield, right? And because we want to optimize spend, that's our goal, right? We want to have a perfect marketing budget where we're allocating budget perfectly to each channel along the way, so that like we're getting, we're doing the best that we can, all right? Google Analytics alone is definitely not going to give you that. We're just looking at general traffic patterns, okay? So what we need to do is get down to an individual customer level in our own database so that we can understand what is John's path to conversion, what is Kelly's path to conversion, so that we can do our own little homegrown stat analysis, okay? Yeah, we're going to pair LTV with multi-attribution. So step 1, create a custom cookie on your website that tracks each visitor, let's say on a 60-day cookie window. Actually, I would recommend, now that I'm reading that, make it even longer, make it even a longer cookie day window. Include subsequent visits in that cookie data. So we have a cookie, somebody comes, we track the referring URL. Somebody comes back, we track the referring URL. We should be using UTM so that that data is structured. So we track the UTM source, the UTM campaign, the UTM creative. And as people are returning, we're dropping that into that anonymous cookie, okay? Then, if somebody converts, we are going to put that in the database with that customer conversion. So somebody converts, we have this open cookie on that anonymous visit, and we say, we have a conversion, now we have an email address, and we know that there was 4 UTM sources and 4 UTM campaigns that were all present in the last 60 days before this conversion took place. You guys with me? Great. Then, this is going to allow us to spot check ROI on any specific campaign, to recalculate the ROI taking into account spend from other channels, and analyze segments and cohorts of customers sorted by conversion path, sorted by LTV, and using some simple stat tools to do your own regression analysis. So what I want you to imagine is a spreadsheet like this that probably has even more data, okay? But each row is a customer, and each column is either the source or the campaign that we tracked in that custom cookie on the way to conversion, okay? So here we have customer 1. We know that they went Facebook, email, retargeting, then conversion. We know how many days from the first visit to the conversion that were recorded. And we know what their LTV is. Not their revenue. We know what their LTV is because this is a customer in our database. So as purchases happen over the course of that customer's lifetime from then on, we're still adding it back up, and we can still be putting ROI back to these marketing channels. Not only is this a really good way to get an idea if you're, let's say, sub $1 million in marketing spend of like what's going on, I highly, highly recommend that all of you start associating customers in your database with the UTM channels that put them in there. That's just missing for so many marketers. What's happening in Google Analytics and what's happening in my own database on an individual customer level, aka my marketing channels and my customers and what they're worth, just not merged in too many databases that I seem to come across. So this is going to have a whole lot of other interesting value props for you, because not only can we sort customers by LTV and source 1, source 2, source 3, campaign 1, campaign 2, campaign 3, etc. We can start to look at paths to conversion that lead to certain types of customers who have certain types of behavior. So do we get different types of LTV from customers whose time to conversion is different? when we get a second conversion, we should rinse and repeat and do this again, basically. So we get a conversion, we have our cookie, and we do this all over again. And so from between first purchase and second purchase, we do the same thing again. We can also have other interesting data in a spreadsheet like this, paired with all this, with stuff like size, gender, did they use a coupon code? Whatever KPIs are that you capture on your customer that are relevant, you can add to this so that you can start sorting and understanding what are the behavioral patterns of my best customers. Certainly, as it relates to our discussion here today about multi-attribution, now I have a CSV download that basically tells me, okay, I have a linear, flat attribution model. I don't know exactly how to reallocate. Should I give more credit to Facebook or more to retargeting? I don't know that exactly, but I do know how many visits to conversion does it take. If I'm trying to figure out, am I spending too much or too little on Facebook, I can go into all of my customers who had a Facebook touch, and then I can look at, if there was a Facebook touch present, how, on average, many other touches were also present. What were those other touches most likely to be? How expensive are those other touches? And that's going to start to give me, not a scientifically perfect, but a pretty good idea of, okay, I got to move a little bit this way or I got to move a little bit that way. Okay. This is Penny today. She's 4 years old now. She loves sunglasses. She loves long walks on the beach, swimming. We're going to go this weekend, I think. That's it. I wanted to leave a couple of minutes for questions. If you're wondering about how to create that custom cookie and how to create that data export, I'm basically advocating that you spend probably 3 to 4 weeks working with your engineers, creating that custom cookie that's interacting with your database, that then has every customer and that you can date range and columned out by all that stuff. That's basically what I'm suggesting you need to do in order to get this. It is not a crazy dev project. I've done it a bunch of times. But I promise you that your developers are going to be like, wait a minute, why are you doing this? I can just give you database queries. Like, you don't need this. And you need to say, no, I do. Just trust me, I need this. I need you to create this database export for me so that I'm not bugging you for database queries anymore. Fair enough? And they'll say, okay, yeah, I don't want to be bugged anymore.
So who has a question for Adam? I think we have time for one or two questions. If not, I'm happy to ask one. And just I thought that was one of the better attribution presentations I've ever seen. Really actionable, much appreciated. From a sort of smaller business standpoint, how far would you say that companies can get with just Google Analytics? Let's say that they don't necessarily have a ton of budget for it. Just on a spectrum, how far do you think they can get?
Yeah. Look, I think if you're like, if you're sub $1 million, if you're sub $500,000 in annual marketing spend, let me rephrase. If you're between $500,000 and $1 million in marketing spend, I would highly recommend you take the dev time to do the thing that I've described here, basically. If you're sub $500,000 in annualized marketing spend, and maybe you're just starting out, you could consider skipping this. But here's what I would say. If you do not know what your golden goose acquisition channel is going to be yet, you are a startup, and the thing that you are tasked with as a marketer is figuring out, what is my growth engine going to be? Google Analytics isn't going to tell you that. Really, it's just going to tell you if you need to re-optimize your budget a little bit. And I think that the customer data table will help you understand, ooh, this is the marketing channel I really need to be investing in. I think Google Analytics is really just going to tell you, like, yeah, like this is a big idea of what's going on. So unfortunately, I kind of think you have to do it pretty. I don't think Google Analytics gets you very far.
Okay. And then our last question, and one other quick question, if folks maybe wanted to get the segment of the presentation on how to make their own, could they give you a card
Absolutely.
or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
And our last question.
Can you just speak to the Google attribution tool that they offer, and how does that compare to the other vendors you mentioned?
Yeah, so I haven't used it. If I understand correctly, it's part of the Google 360 enterprise. That is, as I understand it, not quite as good as what Convertro and Odometry have. Because it is a younger product, and I don't think that they are, but there are advantages and disadvantages. The advantages, of course, being that they have a better understanding of what's happening with organic search and with paid search, but I don't think they're quite as good at display, non-Google display, and Facebook and some of the others that Convertro is. But I think it's, from what I understand, I think it's a pretty serious product. And if you're heavily Google, if you're heavily paid search, then even better.
Thank you, Adam. And if everyone could join me in giving Adam a hand, much appreciated.